Thank you, Sonali, for your time. It's a pleasure to interact with you, and look forward to this conversation with you. I've been thinking about engaging with you for a long time now, but never got this opportunity. On the eve of on the eve of our RN day, I thought that this is a good opportunity for me to just extend my congratulations and best wishes for the stupendous work that you and your team have been doing for the last few years. That's where my curiosity is, and if you can just share with us what's the genesis of this RN, responsible netism, all these years, and how did this idea come about, and what was the idea, what was the story behind this? We'll be very happy to know that. Sonali.
Thank you, Mukul, for seeking the right time and the opportunity to have this interaction on the 8th birthday of Ahaan Foundation. I think this interaction and this discussion is going to be so interesting, and I'm going to look forward to it as well. Your question about how and why and how did we get along and start something like this, which we actually didn't envision it to be so big and so huge in terms of the scale of the entire organization and the work that we've been doing. But it started off with a very quick conversation on how do we all get together and do something which is meaningful in life. Friends from the field of development, from the field of mental health, struggling to do something together to make a difference. And that's when Ahaan Foundation was born today, 8 years ago. We started interacting with a lot of different age groups, talking about mental well-being, talking about lifestyle management. And we were given an opportunity to interact with college youth by Maharashtra Times. In our interaction with college youth and slightly younger, older children, we realized that they were continuously online. And one of the kids said, we don't have to log out ever. So that actually was a trigger for us because we were kind of trying to understand what do children do for so many hours on the internet, and are they aware of what could happen to them, or are they aware of what are the consequences of what they do. We also had some of us whose children were bullied in cyberspace, and we really didn't understand what to do, where to go to, whether this was really a problem that needed intervention. While we started discussing, we realized there was nowhere to go to. There was no place to go to seek help, to kind of ask, to kind of, understand solutions. And then we said we'd take it on ourselves. And while we were discussing this, so Responsible Netism is a project of Ahaan Foundation. Ahaan is a trust registered in 2012. While we were discussing this, we realized that the onus of online behavior lies on the user. And then Responsible Netism was born, which means everybody who uses the internet has to be responsible and accountable. And that's how the journey started. So mental well-being in cyberspace, we wanted to work on mental health for sure. But we also realized at that point in time, we could envision how the space could completely overpower us and it could become one hub of area of distress for younger children especially, because it was hitting us at jet speed. And that's the discussion that started happening. We met a lot of people thrown out of places because this cause of child online protection that we now very strongly advocate for didn't really exist at that point in time. But people were understanding but were not able to understand what's to be done about it. That, I think, was a trigger for us to bring people together, bring like-minded organizations together, and at least start conversation around these lines.
Fantastic. So, the 8-year-old baby, how far has that baby reached?
So I feel extremely proud and elated to share that we've covered over 10 lakh children in the last 8 years of our journey.
Wow.
We've done 4 national cyber psychology conferences, and we are completely at it. I mean, we were working on research, we were working on advocacy, we were working on education. So there's been a lot that has happened in the 8 years, which is very overwhelming.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Basically, the purpose is to reach out to young mind, which are impressionable, and give them a sense of responsibility. Today, what seems to be happening is there is a lot of freedom, but there is nobody seemingly able to give them the sense of responsibility. And I think there is one fantastic pillar of strength for Ahaan Foundation and RN in its work. So my congratulations once again to all of you. You mentioned that it started off with college youth because they don't have any place to go. But I also now know that you have reached various schools as well. So you have not only stayed at the college youth level, but you have gone to younger levels as well. Can you share some stories with us which possibly justify the movement? Um, the stories which talk about anguish, the stories which talk about relief. Are there some stories like that, Sonali?
For sure. So incidentally, Ahaan started with the idea of empowering people. So Ahaan is called the Journey of Empowerment, and we realized responsible netism was the only way we could empower young children and adults about online safety. So this is the power that we would want to give to children. And if I talk of cases, we can probably print a book on them because we have n number of cases. Today, after 8 years, we also play the role of a referral organization that reports cases to cyber cells for legal interventions or for psychological help required in the cases or the situations that children undergo inside the school. Ranging from children being bullied. So children are not just vulnerable always to cybercrime. We realized in the last few years, children are also committing cybercrimes on a very large extent. And for whether it is hacking somebody else's Wi-Fi or data or accounts, or stalking somebody online, or morphing images online, all of these, some very critical cases where we've seen children have gotten into very, very serious situations where they have used somebody else's picture to morph them, to make that viral and to threaten another person with dire consequences if they did not give in to these children's demands.
Mm-hmm.
We also realized that a lack of awareness of consequences of their online behavior was a very critical aspect that needed some thought and intervention. So initially we started working only with children because they were our end users who were absolutely out there exploring and adventuring into cyberspace. Over the years, while we started interacting with a lot of experts in this fraternity, we realized that parents are our direct beneficiaries because they are liable and they are also legally responsible for their children's behavior. And so we started working with a lot of parents. And unfortunately, things are still the same where the awareness levels of online behavior are very, very low among parents, while that in children are extremely high. So the divide is very wide. We're not planning to get them at par with each other because the divide is too wide, but at least understand what they could do as digital guardians to be able to safeguard their children in cyberspace. Some very critical cases of bullying where groups have, we realize that language has become so demeaning and children use it so casually on WhatsApp chats or probably on Insta group chats where they decide on who would be bullied and then create content, memes, images, videos, and text to make that person feel miserable to the extent of making that person attempt suicide or even, take very, very severe steps. Uh, I again feel these are simply because children don't understand the consequences of their behavior. At the same time, we realize that both, parental approach towards this is very, very extremist. So you either do everything and give everything, or you give everything. So there is absolutely no balance. Later on, as we evolved, we started learning, we started exposing ourselves to a lot of information available out of country because other countries are pretty evolved with their internet cyber hygiene policies for the country. We realize that there has to be some balance. So we need to be at peace with technology. We can't be fighting this battle all our lives because it's going to be there forever. For us, the change, the learning was immense because in India, there was nothing that we could actually hold on to because the content was meant for children and adults outside of the country, so very irrelevant many times. And then we started working on different elements or different pillars of education meant for different age groups.
Fantastic. Um, Pandemic must have put the whole efforts upside down. And that's my assumption, because when I sit at home, I observe I know definitely they are in the school hours, but I don't know whether they are on the school syllabus, because they're sitting in front of the laptop, but not necessarily what they're looking at is the laptop syllabus related content. Uh, in this current scenario, is therefore vision of RN changing? Is is the way that you envision things that would happen or should happen for RN's overall approach, is it changing, and how is it changing, and what are your next steps?
Absolutely. Changing in the sense we brought in more of the online element into the work that we do. So there is a dilemma that we've always been stuck with. One, we are working and talking about cyberspace, but we are minimally using that platform because we want to directly interact with children. Our experiences with children working offline are tremendous. We realize they have nowhere to go to, nobody discussing this issue with them. If a child is being bullied, if a child is being threatened, they definitely can't talk to their parents because the mobile will be taken away. So we believe that we definitely have to work offline to be able to connect with children. That's our lab. That's where we get all our insights from children from, which we use for advocacy, for our research, to recommend policies for change and governance as well. So we also converted a lot of our activities online because everybody now is living in cyberspace. Incidentally, we've also been very, very busy handling cases that children in schools have been coming and sharing with us of, the domains being hacked or principals' images being modded, and a lot of ragging and bullying happening in cyberspace because children are out there completely. At the same time, we look at this as more of an opportunity because we can then strengthen the reach and look at large numbers to reach out through web-based interactive sessions. Though we truly miss offline interactions because a lot of interactions, that non-verbal interactions that we have with children, are something that we really miss. But also, it is difficult through the online platforms to identify any child in distress, because that has been one area that we're really very concerned about. So what we plan to do now is, the idea in the next about 5 years is to make India cyber safe for children and youth. And that's the bigger vision that we aspire to collectively fulfill, involving various level stakeholders like the government, the Department of Education or the Ministry of Education, Ministry of IT and Women and Child Development. Because it's a collective responsibility, we need to work on advocacy, we need to work on research, and we of course need to have a program that is fit for all across children in our country. With that bigger vision, which is a very mammoth statement in
Right.
itself, I think we will need to be having a lot of people like you who are our mentors, who will be promoting the work that we do in different parts of the state. So this trickles down this information to the last line, which is very, very critical.
I'm sure, and there will be support for such a just cause and such a relevant cause of the time for us. What I'm also keen to look at is, uh, as you mentioned, internationally, the policies, the cyber security policies are stringent, very well developed, and therefore they reflect the maturity of the problem the society is experiencing and defining for itself. And I will not be off the mark if I say that in India we still have a long way to go. And if that's the case, then do you what do you suggest needs to happen uh, at three levels: at family level, at society level, and at governance level? What do you think should happen so that efforts of responsible netism are justified as well as more successful?
I think very critically, prevention, we believe, is the biggest step towards bringing change and towards child protection. Uh, Considering the number of people or users that we have in our country, it will take time for the law enforcement, for agencies to actually strengthen systems, so they are equipping themselves every now and then with policy changes coming in, with a lot of effort going into cyber security. Our concern is very little effort is going into cyber safety, which is what we do, which is providing engagement or providing opportunities for people to interact with technology and teach them to be safe. So cyber safety, there are very few handpicked organizations that are working in this space, actually talking about how to keep children safe online. And a lot of renowned organizations in the field of development have also come together to support, because we realize that online safety cannot be excluded from the offline safety manual. Come again. We believe that online safety has not been included in the offline safety manual. And today, when children are spending most of their lives online, there has to be a mandate in the child safety policy, which includes online safety, which the government is now very, very proactively engaging resources into. A lot of promising changes
Fantastic.
are coming up. But at the same time, I don't think we need to wait for those to happen. Those will keep on coming and strengthen systems further. I think, therefore, our role is to be built into these systems, create security and safety measures, create safety nets for children as parents, as adults, as caregivers, so that we inculcate cyber hygiene into children very, very young. And we cannot wait for, so it takes time for things to trickle down. So while we start very early, we're also setting a tone for children and asking them to be able to understand safety guidelines. This is very, very, everybody talks about offline safety. So strangers se baat mat karo, don't go and share personal information. The same rules apply in cyberspace, because you're on a different road altogether, which is lonely but full of strangers wanting to reach out to you with whatever intentions in mind. These will only trickle in when parents collectively are more proactive. They understand how vulnerable their children are, and we need to support law enforcement by preventing crime from happening. And that's the way we look at it. I think that will be a fantastic value add and a contribution towards the country.
Lovely to hear this, because the responsibility is at three levels: at family level, which is the smallest unit, which is most powerful in a child's life, then the society at large level, and then the government. Many a times I hear people push a lot of responsibilities onto the government as if they have nothing to do with it. And I'm very happy to note that RN is operating on the different principle, and which is more powerful. Having said this, I also noticed that there are a lot of programs. One of them is Jamtara, which comes to my mind, which in a way showcase the violence slash criminal mind in a very dramatic as well as eulogized fashion. Um, do we have any efforts in mind, or do you think there are people who are willing to show the other side, which is the negative impact and therefore the corrective facilities that are available? Do you think RN can collaborate with people in the system to bring about such messages to change the narrative that we have in the system and society?
That's a huge pressure lobby, Mukul, I think, and it is only collective efforts that will come in handy here. Uh, I think that's the bigger force that we are all trying to overcome. This lobby is very, very strong. Though they're very receptive to these kind of recommendations that are coming, a long time for us to collectively advocate for a cause which is so critical and provide enough data and research that will back us up with the kind of cases, with the kind of incidents children have been facing, for which a lot of efforts would be required collectively for us to share our recommendations. I'm also happy to share that there has been a committee of the Rajya Sabha that has been formed only to ensure online safety for children, where these recommendations have been taken from us and other organizations working in similar domains on ensuring cybersecurity for children. And these have been very seriously looked into. So there is change, gradual, but I think they are opening minds. And I also believe that we need to be doing our bit and adding people bit by bit to create stronger pressure lobbies, to create more advocacy, so that this becomes a cause of global concern and is taken into consideration.
I'm very relieved to hear that there is a government body that is working on this, and I really hope that we don't have to lose many years Having said this, is there a possibility from our stable that we, to change the narrative in the system, can we just showcase heroes or heroines of responsible netism behavior? Is there a thought around that? Because what I sense is the power of media needs to be leveraged, and we have definitely there is a lobby that works in favor of TRPs and therefore the maximum moolah coming back to them. But is there a way we can, in our little ways, change the narrative by showcasing different heroes and heroines around who have been successfully fighting and have successfully fought the pandemic of cybercrime as well as irresponsible behavior on netism?
Absolutely.
What's your thought on that?
There are so many little things that we can do at our homes which does not require much of an effort. So for the adults that we're all communicating with today, befriend technology. You don't need to shy away from it and be fearful of it just because our children know much more than us. Their language is technology, so we need to understand technology in order to protect our children. Two, I think very critically, communication is one of the strongest mediums that could be used. So open doors to communication within your homes. Talk to children about how they can be safe online. Talk to children about safety. Engage children. I think this is one of the best examples that we have where young children are now becoming cyber safety ambassadors for us, where they are designing policies for home online safety. They're very close knit, they're sharing concerns. You have the opportunity to say what you think and feel, which is very, very critical today. Parents need to be more accepting of what their children do online. At the same time, trust them when they come up and share distress stories or probably cases which are slightly disturbing or probably very critical and need intervention. Thirdly, I would say help is available just a call away. We cannot be perfect parents and we need not be perfect parents. We are not fighting a battle to be the best parent in the world. I think we are evolving as parents because we ourselves are struggling in the space of technology. So there are our numbers. We are all available for you to reach out to us. And this is all happening simply because we believe every child has the right to be safe online, but it is every adult's responsibility to ensure our children are safe in cyberspace. And I think I'm entrusting this power to everybody who's watching us today. And we have the power to do this, bring this collective action and shape it to making India cyber safe for children and our young people.
Fantastic. That's the best definition of empowerment that we ever have then. Thank you very much. And I really appreciate, once again, can't thank you enough for your efforts and your team's effort. And so if we have to go towards the latter part of our discussion, what is it that you believe you require in terms of support from the system around that will help you and you achieve the RN vision more powerfully?
So we have a lot of people, Mukul, you are one of our team members in terms of mentors that we have who guide us through our journey. We need a lot of people who are supportive of the program. We need money because it's the most critical element of running any activity that you have to do offline and online as well. We need resources in terms of expertise. We need resources in terms of skills. We need interns. So we are open to exploring, interacting, collaborating with anybody willing to spend time, energy, resources, skills, and interest with us, and the passion to protect children. So if there is passion, we can find a way to collaborate, we can find a way to connect, we can find a way to give back what children really, really require. And this is also one request, very, very humble request for everybody who's viewing us today. You can always find time to reach out to somebody, and that is the passion that you need to live at this point in time and explore. So anybody having not knowing what can they do sitting at home, reach out to us. We'll tell you we have a lot of work to offer.
Great. And from the corporate world, because money comes from the corporate world mostly, or otherwise you will need to go to individual donors around. I'm sure that's another route, no doubt. But in the corporate system, who are your partners who have been associating with this noble cause and have been extending their support in time people and money?
So we have partnered with Bob Financials for this year. We have WNS Foundation as one of our biggest partners, where we've collectively come up with a gamified portal on teaching children cyber safety. This portal is called Cyber Smart. It's a free portal that teaches online safety to children from grade 2 to
Oh,
grade
lovely.
10 with
Okay.
a certified program. So while you cross levels, which are age appropriate, with stories, with games, with quizzes, you are certified to be cyber smart. I think we must explore these opportunities which are already existing in cyberspace. We also have HDFC who's helped us earlier. We've had Quick Heal who's helped us earlier. In the corporate world, I think a lot of individuals who donate a lot of their funds, their money, or through CSR, which is as simple as adopting a school or adopting one session for a school which educates children on online safety. And a lot of information is available on our website where you can pick up a school where 3 sessions are hosted by us, and you pick up the cost of making that entire school cyber safe through the education program that we run. So I think you can explore these opportunities. As corporates, we're also wanting to engage with your employees by educating them, because their parents, they have children who are struggling in the same space. These people or these parents are also ignorant about what they need to be do while they're allowing their children to navigate all alone in cyberspace.
Do you see corporates willing to support only metro cities, or they are willing to support you in the mofussil parts of Maharashtra and some other states that you are venturing into?
I think each of them have their own guideline for supporting CSR initiatives. But we've seen people who engage in technology are proactive, people who engage in education. So we've now termed it as education on cyber safety, which needs to be a life skill because it needs to be inculcated very, very early in schools. And also we've seen CSRs invest, like banks invest, because that is another segment of cybercrime which is very, very uh, intense. Economic frauds are one of the most severest forms of crimes happening in
Right.
cyberspace with adults. So these are also people who want to invest in projects like these, and we would be more than happy to collaborate.
Great. So one last question from my side, and it's not a question; it's a request. If you are to give any message to your patron, what would that be? So if we categorize the patron in 4 groups, one is young children, second is parents, third is the school, and the fourth is the government officials. What would be your message to these patrons?
I missed your question. I'm so sorry.
Uh, there are 4 categories of patrons that I look at for RN. One is children, other is parents, third is the schools and the educational institutions, and the fourth one is the government and government agencies and policymakers and so on. What is your message for each of these patrons on the eighth uh,
That's
birthday of
a
RN?
very large. That's a very large spectrum of people that we need to work with, that we're already working with. Uh, so for children, our message is it is cool to be safe online. Please accept this as your motto, because while you understand how unsafe cyberspace is, you have the power to say no, to report, and to become cool by being cyber safe. So my takeaway for you, for all children who are viewing this, is you have the power to secure yourself in cyberspace and educate others. So please join us in doing that. For parents, I would say don't get scared. We're not against technology. So our disclaimer is that we're not against technology. We're here to promote responsible usage
Mm-hmm.
issues. So being more proactive, being more alert, being slightly smart. While we have smartphones, we definitely have to be smarter. Embrace technology and reach out to them. With schools, I think it's high time schools mandatorily conduct sessions on online safety for parents of the primary section and children from grade 3 onward, because everybody is on screens, everybody is exposed to some form of a threat or the other. So we are available, you can reach out to us. To the government, we're asking for a lot of help. We need policy changes, we need resources in terms of financial support, we need content to be created which is user friendly, and we also need to be able to bring these people together so that we can bring about a change through collective action.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sonali, so much. Just to capture your the last part of the statement or your answer. Um, for children, it's be cool by being safe online. For parents, embrace the technology without getting scared of it. For schools, you're talking about that they need to establish the guardrails so that they keep the focus of their children on studies, the primary task that the schools have to be responsible for. And what you are requesting government is to strengthen your reach so that you can do the job as well as it can be done. Thank you so much, Sonali, for your time. Really appreciate the efforts that you are putting in, and to you and to your team. And I wish that we have many more years of successful intervention at the system level. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mukul. I feel so pleased, so overwhelmed that you've been with us today on a very important day of our lives. And your partnership, your contribution to Ahaan is very valuable to us. So thank you for hosting this for us today.
It's been a pleasure because there is a lot of direct support and direct intervention for the system, which is the need of the hour. So thank you so much for your Ahaan Foundation and to Responsible Netism and team. Thank you.